Muy buenas tardes. Today we have our third episode of In the Clouds podcast. We're doing things a little different today. We're going to start with our first collaboration / interview with Erica Pagan. She's a female car dealership owner, and she's going to be our first guest that we're going to be interviewing and talking today with. We also have Gina Di Benedetto here, the engineer.
Woo-woo.
I'm your co-host, Sergio.
And I'm Josh. And today we are also accompanied by Tiffany, owner of Encanto Aesthetics. Got some business owners in the house today.
Bunch of entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
I love tables full of like-minded people. Today's episode is brought to you by Pagan's Auto Sale and Repair, located on 2480 Delaware Avenue in Buffalo. Pagan's Auto Sale and Repair caters to the Latino community or anyone interested in a used car. Se habla español también. Somos bilingüe. All right, Erica. Well, like I said, we have Erica today. We're going to be asking some questions because, we want to know what motivates a female mind to get into what's considered a man's business. So what motivated you to get into the automotive industry, and how was your journey as a female entrepreneur?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. And ese comercial que tú me diste, you did it better than my marketing team. I'm going to have to hire you. So realistically, this was something that, my entire family's been in the car industry. If you look up Auto Luis Sen in Puerto Rico and Camuy, it's a dealer owned by my uncle who originally started in the car industry with an auto parts store in Utuado, Puerto Rico, where you would go buy parts. And I remember that my cousin, his son, who also owns a dealership in Orlando, used to pick me up when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old and used to take me on Fridays to the car shop. And then from there, we would drive all the way to Arecibo. En aquel tiempo, that time is when Arecibo had all those school buses that you would by the time you get there, you were throwing up. That was me. I was the kid throwing up. Yep. So he used to pick me up, take me up there. So I grew up around cars. And then at a young age, when we moved here to Buffalo, my brother decided to have a car club, and I also helped coordinate cars. So I've always been somehow involved in the car industry. So there was an opportunity a few years ago for me to open up a dealership. I, applied for my license, and honestly, I started without knowing anything. I was working with my brother for a little bit, so, I went there, I helped him out for a little bit, so I learned somewhat of the things that he was doing. Everything else when it comes to the industry itself, going to the auctions, how to get loans for people's vehicles, I learned that on my own, basically, how to work with the DMV. And the verify system that every used car lot or new car lot uses to, register vehicles. All that I kind of taught myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Trial and error.
Right. So with that trial and error along the way, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced throughout this journey? And what were some methods you used to navigate yourself through those?
So to be honest with you, every single part of this has been a challenge for me. It still is to this day. Some are great challenges that I kind of came afloat and learned from, and some are still things that I'm still working and learning and trying to adjust, right? Because the car industry is something, it's almost like the stock market, goes up and down, 1 year people want to drive a Camry, the next year everybody wants Hummer, and después, the year after that everybody wants to be on Jeeps. It just depends on the weather, so it's constantly changing. The market's always changing. But one thing that has been a challenge back in the days when we were able to go to the auction and buy a used car for $1,000 or $2,000, $3,000, it was a running vehicle, right? So you would come back and sell it for $5,000, $6,000. That was great. That doesn't exist anymore. If you buy a car at the auction for $2,000, $3,000, there's something wrong. Either the engine or something like the transmission. So just staying afloat with everything and learning how to go and buy cars too, right? That was one of the biggest challenge. Just stepping inside a room where I was surrounded by 300, 400 men.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, not only am I a woman, pero también a Latina. So there was me. I have this one picture that my husband took that I look at it, and every time I feel, damn, what am I doing? I look at that picture where there was 200 or 300 men, white men at that, right? Because they're dominated era más gente blanca, white American men, maybe one or two blacks, and maybe one Puerto Rican than me, right? And I was the only female on that floor at the state line. They're a great auction. And I went up there, and I remember going in, and all these men are from the age maybe 35 to 70, 80, some. And I was the only female on the floor. So they would look at me like, who's this lady,
Yeah.
And there's a lunchroom area, and I would sit on one table, and they would kind of all sit on the other side of me. And I was like, what the hell's wrong with me?
Yeah.
They don't want to share tables with me. So I learned is that these are all businessmen, right, who've been in business for over 50 years, and they kind of have their own clique. You know how people have their clique? They kind of know each other, and they kind of already have a routine. Everybody has the list of all their cars ready to talk to each other.
Right.
So, I mean, going in there and getting accepted by these gentlemen was, I think, one of my biggest challenges.
Now, that being said, in this industry, what do you think females bring to this industry that, men don't?
Well, naturally, other than we're beautiful, all those assets that we have.
I was going to say, we could be honest here.
No, te voy a decir la verdad. I've always been the same type of woman when I go out there. I know, how women are. We're beautiful. Men look at us, whatever. But other than that, I feel like we have a lot of empathy naturally. So when you have a customer comes in, and there's a single mom with 3 kids, and she's in finishing her degree, and she has a job, and she's like, hey, my car broke down. I got my 2 kids I got to drop on my school, Erica. I'm in need. Naturally, I have empathy. I've always been like that, right? Naturally. So that's something that naturally I do, and it works in my favor because I can connect with that woman right away. I was a single mom at one time with 2 boys. So I know how that feels, right? And having to go to work and school. So I would connect with them immediately. And I said, I know what you need. When you sell a car, I've learned that it's not just selling a car and say, hey, hey, mom, you're a single mom, take that Mustang. No, I'm like, you know what? She needs an SUV. It's winter. The kid's got to be safe. She has to be able to fit a car seat for the younger one.
Yeah.
So I think as a woman, I understand better what we want in a vehicle.
Yeah.
And we also want to look good. I have women that come in there. I'm like, no, I want a stick shift. I want this. O mira, yo quiero una jipeta.
Yeah.
I have women in there that they know, they're hardballs. Like they come in. Yeah. And I love them because
you're like a stylist.
I am one of them. Right. So I asked them, so what do you do? Like, you go to school, you're working, where do you work at? How many kids you have? I asked them, right? So I could kind of connect with them, I feel, as a female.
You help them choose something that caters to their lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us some of the common misconceptions about buying used cars that you wish more people understood, because some people just drive something to take them from A to B, or they're really not looking too intuitively. They just need something quick. So what are some common misconceptions that everyday people should know?
There's so many, but I'm just going to try to remember a few. And I don't know if this falls in with it, but coming into this industry, I realized that car salesmen have such a bad reputation. Horrible. Like, you walk into a dealer, automatically people in women think, oh my God, if I walk in there, you know what I mean? They feel like they're going to be taken advantage of. But not every used vehicle is a lemon, right? People throw that word a lot. Yeah. Lemon this, all this, that. They don't understand that the law here in the state of New York, for you to prove that I sold you a lemon, meaning you took it, the motor blew. I mean, you have to, just because I didn't change your brakes and they're squeaking, I didn't sell you a lemon. Right. So people think they use that lemon law.
Yeah, it's called the lemon law. I think you got 90 days to see if there's any major issues with the car.
Right. I think I might be 30, but maybe you're right. I think it's 30, with the dealerships. But I might be wrong there. You can check it. But that's one of the things. Also, a lot of people now, how they're on TikTok. So they see things. Oh, when you buy a used car, this is not true. And I'm like, mira, deja estar llevándote por TikTok. That's not the truth, okay? You do need a down payment, okay? Those people that actually say, oh, well, I walked in this dealership and I didn't need that. Those people have great credit. And I've had a customer who had great credit and she did not need any down payment. I've had those, right? But I've had other customers where, the bank is like, well, for that Toyota, we're only going to lend them $5,000-$6,000. So they're going to have to come up with two because you want $8,000 for the car, right? So that's another one that they feel like, oh, but I read on, I seen on TikTok that I don't need a down payment. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I'm very fair with them. If they only need 1,000 or 1,005, that's all I would take, right?
Yeah, I just checked. The limit law is 30 days.
Right.
Do you remember any experiences with customers or any stories that, they show the impact of actual good service, not just trying to sell somebody the most expensive car in the lot because you feel like they might have money, but more so like what you said, having that intuition to sell them more or try to sell them more into what they actually need?
Yes. I not for anything, y no por darme con la piedra en el pecho, like we say, pero I have a lot of positive feedback and I have a lot of beautiful stories and, times where I'm like, this is why I love what I do, right? I had one specific, again, it was a mom and she had her children and she said, Erica, I remember like maybe a week or two after I sold her the car that she texted me, she said, you know what, Erica, I just want to thank you because I know that nobody would have done that for me. Like, you were able to find me a car. You thought about my kids. Like,
So she probably went in there wanting something different, and you
Yep.
sold her on what she actually
Yep.
needed, it,
Yep.
and
she
then
was
she
going
realized
through a divorce, and she had no money, very little money, and I gave her the benefit of the doubt, and I said, yeah, give me the 1,000 next week. When you get that, you give me the other 1,000. And she said, nobody would have done that because you don't know me. And I said, yeah, well, I gave you the benefit of the doubt, right? How much can I lose? You have a vehicle that belongs to me, and there's a lien on it. Where
Yeah.
you gonna go with my vehicle, But I have a lot of stories like that are really nice people. If you go to my office, you're gonna see I have so many gifts and stuff on the wall because people come in and bring me little things. Yo le dije a la gente, I'm gonna have to get on a diet because they bring me café, comida, and I love that. I don't go hungry. If I put on Facebook, I'm at the dealership, I'm starving, somebody will bring me a plate of food. That's what I love about our community.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So it's about the relationship building, right? So it's not all about the money. It's about the connections, the relationship building, right? So a moment ago, you touched on people these days using TikTok and social media to find out like quick car info, right? Kind of influences them to buy more impulsively. But how would you leverage social media and digital marketing in order to reach customers and promote your business?
Well, I have by using building a business page off my Facebook, right? I also use a program, Dealer Search built me a website, and I feel like that works really well because I use that link. I use QR codes in my business card so people can just scan it and start an application. Also, what I've learned in this business, there's so much out there, so saturated, right? With a lot of marketing and digital that we have people calling me every day trying to sell me a product, right? And I always tell them, I am a small business. I'm a used car dealership, but I'm a small business. So when you're in business, you have maybe hundreds of people in a year that are trying to sell you products, right? And they claim we're the best. We'll get you 40 sales in a month or 40 in a week. And I'm like, even if I could sell 40, how many cars can I buy at once at the auction, right? So the market, it's got its pros and its cons when it comes to technology and using different platforms for, to post your cars and all that.
Right. Okay.
Interesting. So right now we're in a room where there's 5 people and there's 3 female business owners and 2 male business owners. We're minorities right now.
Yes.
And I like
the odd
it.
man
You know
out.
what I mean? I think that's a great thing. Now, that being said, what advice do you have for some females that might have the talent, the potential, the means to start a business in your industry?
Okay. That's good. Well, when I started, I could tell you this. I didn't have somebody to go back and reference from, right? I didn't have, a Latina that I could call and say, hey, yo sé que tú vendes 20 carros al mes. How do you do this, How do you navigate this? I know you go to the auction and you're a Latina dealership. I didn't have that. If I'm not mistaken, and we're going to have to fact check, I think I am the only Latina in Western New York that own a dealership on my own, meaning I am the owner of my dealership by myself, right? I also have a husband that works for me, but he works for me. So when I started, I didn't have a reference. Hay que decir la verdad. He works for me, you know. I am the pillar, and he's very important, okay? We could talk about that later. Pero es bien importante because sin él, I wouldn't be able to do as much, right, of the things that we do. But at the end of the day, I am the owner, a sole proprietor. I'm by myself. Now, recently, I did file for my LLC, right? So I can add a partner or whatever. But I'm okay, you know, with that. And I didn't have that reference. So what I did is I had some of my friends who helped me build a spreadsheet, an Excel sheet that literally from A to Z tells anyone who wants to go into the car business. And I'm saving this for women that are going to get motivated and say, hey, if Erica was able to do this, I can. How to file for your license, what documents you need to put together. Because when I started, I didn't have that. I literally had to Google, try to talk to some of the men that were men actually helped me. You know, they were like, Erica, you got to call here, you got to send this here. But I had to do research, and I had somebody close to me who helped me, and we built an Excel sheet that tells you from A to Z how to get your dealer license and all that. So I have that available for anybody, any women or young Latinos that are interested. I will hand that to you, even though I didn't have that, right? And because I didn't, I wanted to create something that somebody can use. So that's available, just putting it out there.
Awesome. So with that being said, I mean, everything you've mentioned so far, right? It's clear to see you're very busy. You're either learning or providing a service every day. You're constantly taking care of people, right? And you also have a family of your own. So share with us some elements about balancing that work and life dynamic.
Well, that's been a learning curve for me as well, you know, because I do other things in the community. Not only do I have a dealership and I'm a mom and I have all these other things, I also do other things in La Comunidad, like we have our Puerto Rican Bomba group, right? So it's been difficult, right? Because I have to split myself. When you're the owner of a business, it's a 24/7 job.
It's your baby.
There's no, let me clock out at 5 or 6 and let me go home and I just close my eyes and it's not my problem. It's your problem.
Keeps you up at night.
Exactly, 24/7. So it's been crazy. The only thing I could say is that being your own boss, right, and having your business, if there's an emergency, I could walk out. I could lock the door and I'm like, hey, bye. I need 2 hours. I need to take care of this. So it's got both, again, the pros and the cons, right? But it's difficult being a woman. And then there's so many things about being a female in this industry. You're more emotional about things, right?
Yeah.
When do you walk into a dealership and you see the owner, he's crying because his dog died? I mean, some do, right?
I mean,
but
yeah, they do,
most
man.
likely they're not going to do it there. I'm a human. I'm a female first, right? I'm a woman first and a mom. And sometimes, you know, I had a death, like my dad died. I think it was last year in April. And, you know, I owned a dealership. People were coming in. I'm the one doing applications.
Yeah.
I am the first person they see.
Yeah.
And they walked in y ahí yo estoy plegada llorando because I lost my dad. Yeah. So so you do take your personal life into work. The thing is that unless it's something like that severe, like a death or something serious, when I walk through that door, I'm in business mode. Even the way I communicate with my husband, I treat him like a business partner, even though I'm a sole proprietor, but I treat him like he's my employee. So I have serious conversations with him. So you have to know how to divide those things and kind of know, you know, when to drop it or when to just shut off the phone because it's 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge, but yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you, so I'm a male Hispanic business owners, and, you know, that comes with its own trials and tribulations, you know, being Hispanic, I'm sure you being black, you know.
And white.
How do you feel as a Hispanic owner, female, how do you feel that our community helps and supports each other?
So in general, or I'm going to be very specific. I'm going to talk about my own, right?
Please.
So I had people that are close to me, friends that, you know, they were really happy for me. You know, they were like, they couldn't believe. A lot of people would come in and say, oh, my God, Erica, I can't believe that you did it. They were surprised. And, you know, they were like, oh, my God, like, this is good because now other people, other Latinas are going to be encouraged. So I had both. I had people that would support me, but I also had, and I'm going to tell you how it is, I also had haters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sad because the haters that I had were females, Latinas,
Yeah.
right? So they will undermine me as a business owner. And, you know, I learned that I have to take whatever they say or do, you know, when it comes to me, like a grain of salt. Y dejar que me resbale, como decía mi mamá. So every day I would wake up and I used to wash myself con vaselina para que me, so it could just slide off me, because, you know, I realized that a lot of people, they're just so unhappy with themselves that they cannot see somebody be successful, especially a Latina and a woman. So they would, you know, they would try to, you know, just negative vibes over here.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to have a thick skin and just show them why I am who I am, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of why I asked too. I mean, I face the same thing. I just feel like, and it's a damn shame because there's so many of us here, at least, you know, in Buffalo, as far as the Hispanic community. And I've always felt like we disservice each other more than what we help lift each other up. You know, I see Indian communities here that are smaller than ours, Asian people, Middle Eastern people, you know, and within their own community, they help, they support each other, they support their own businesses. Whereas in our community, if you're trying to come up and become something, there's always this crazy, unnecessary backlash where I feel like we're bigger as far as numbers than all these communities, yet they progress more and faster than we do.
Exactly.
You know, I feel like if we were a united front, I feel like the Latin community could take over. You know, we're bilingual. Most of us are bilingual, which is why we're in business here. You know, and I've just never understood that myopic point of view where it's like, I see you doing good, and instead of supporting you or wanting to be a part of what you're doing, I'm trying to tear you down.
Yes.
You know, I'm trying to bring you down. I'm trying to say things about you that I don't even know if they're true or not. You know, it's like, I am mad that you're being successful.
Right. And they will undermine my work. They would literally, I would hear comments like, oh, but, you know, she owns a dealership because she has it from her brother, you know.
Like you didn't earn it yourself.
Exactly. Like they're not giving me credit. I never took anything from anybody, right? I opened my dealership with my own money, right? And with my husband's money, of course, right? But I never took anything from anybody. So it's easier to say, oh, yeah, she just took it because her brother had it. No, I started from scratch. I have the receipts, like someone says. I have it on the wall. If you go look at my license, it's Erica Leon-Torres.
Yeah.
You know, and people, they tend to do that because they don't know the story.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was forced sometimes to tell people who walk in and say, oh, wait, but, and I said, no, but siéntate. Tú quieres bochincha, yo te digo la verdad rapidito.
Yeah.
I have nothing to hide. I work really hard for that place, you know. And the story with my brother, that's for another show.
Yeah.
But I work really, really hard for what I have.
Yeah.
And so did my husband, too.
I've always said there's a difference between not knowing the story and not caring enough to want to know the story. And I feel like that's where we fell as the Hispanic community. You know, it's not that we don't know, it's that we don't want to know. You know, when I started doing properties, you know, we did our houses nicer. We charge more than the average landlord, but you get what you pay for. You know, I had Hispanic people tell me that, you know, I was segregating my own people, that I was racist with my, why am I going to charge half of what I should be charging just because we're Hispanic? You know, there's always this hookup mentality where I want everything because they think that we're rich. You know, you got into business a year or two ago and they think that you're worth millions of dollars.
Exactly.
And you should just be going out of your way and completely bending over for them. When, to me, you know, if I really want you to succeed, I should be supporting you. I shouldn't be expecting. We talked about this on the last episode about the hookup.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, why does the hookup have to come from me? I've never seen somebody say, oh, you know, you want this much, I'm going to give you more. You know, and we're not expecting that as owners, you know, but at least don't try to haggle what's already a deal.
Right.
You know, and I feel like that happens a lot within our community.
It happens
and it's
to me.
a shame.
Sergio, on the daily. On the
I
daily.
can imagine.
I mean, I've had people walk in there say, well, you know what? Your brother used to do this for this. And you know what I did? I grabbed a pen and a piece of paper and wrote down my brother's phone number and said, here you go. You could call him. You know, because there's a huge difference the way I do business. I am as honorable as someone can be in the used car dealership industry, right? Mm-hmm. I am responsible. I have no issue. If you change your mind within a week, here, aquí está tu down payment. There you go. Mm-hmm. In other places, they would keep a percentage of your money because you had that dealership waste their time with you, right? And there's other fees and stuff that dealers charge that I do not, right? So that is the hookup.
You have a reputation.
Everybody, porque soy mejor, perdón, porque soy mujer y porque soy latina y porque me conocen, esperan un hookup todo el tiempo. Tú sabes, yo no voy donde la muchacha que me hace las uñas, y Belice se llama ella, que she does a great job. Yo no voy donde ella y le digo, bueno, tú eres mi amiguita. You know, we chit chat. Give me 50% off. No, as a matter of fact, I tip her extra.
Correct.
Because I know her, right? Pero aquí no. ¿Sabe? Aquí en esta comunidad yo he visto que muchas veces no.
There's a lot of hate. I mean, last week I went to my barber to get a haircut, you know, and this pertains to you, Erica, because I get to the barber shop and my barber's like, yo, this guy is talking about Erica. So, you know, he's going on his rant and he's flipping out, you know, and he tells me that his problem with Erica was that he wanted Erica to give him $2,000 for the down payment of the car that he wanted to, and he wanted her to give him 2 months to pay back the $2,000. And I looked at him and I'm like, what dealer would ever do that?
Sí. Mira, no voy a decir
you know
nombre,
this
¿verdad?
person for years.
Right. I'm not going to say a name or anything, but that's a great example. This gentleman came to me and gave me a down payment for a vehicle. Once I put the application, he was pre-approved. Then he was not approved because they checked something that it wasn't what the bank wanted to see, right? So I'm not going to get into details and I'll respect his privacy. Pero he had to bring the car back. And then he said that I was trying to rob him and ask him for more down payment. No, I don't need to do that. If the bank approved you, they're going to pay me what I'm asking for the vehicle. I don't need to take anything from you. But, you know, I think that's a bad habit sometimes of our people.
Yeah.
They go and they know they're wrong, but they still want to make it like they're right and talk crap. And talk shit. And that happens to be the day that Sergio was there getting a cut.
Yeah.
Y te voy a decir algo, después vino a pasar por el dealer para atrás y vino cagado, pero yo no estaba disponible para atenderlo y lo vi por la cámara que esperó, pero yo lo dejé. ¿Sabes por qué? Porque eso fue, he did, but it was disrespectful. You know, because you were talking about me, you were not being fair. I was so, you know, fair with him, and he kept the car for a few weeks, and I give him back his money, you know. I could have said, you wasted my time, but no, tenga usted. Why? Because I believe in karma, and what goes around comes around. I'm not going to take something from someone that has less than I do.
Yeah.
That's I guess that's the state of mind. Somebody once told me, "Oh, you're not going to make money in this business because you think you can help everybody." It's true. I cannot try to help everyone,
right.
But if I can, I will, right?
Yeah.
And again, I've learned a lot in these 2 years, almost 3. I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have good times and then bad times. It's like the seasons. We do good in tax season, then it slows down. It's an up and down for us.
Yeah. But it's pure and it's your passion. Yeah. And you went all in, right?
And I went all in, and people know I know cars more than I know anything else right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I know people that said, I've sold cars for 30 years. They still don't know how to close a deal. Or they still don't know how much they could bid on a vehicle and what things they look for. You know what I mean? So I've learned those things.
That's why they say time don't mean shit. It's the work you put into it.
Exacto.
You know,
La gente siempre, ay, que yo estaba haciendo esto por 50 años. I've been doing this for 10 years. It's not the time. It's the quality.
Yeah.
And who brings it, you know?
I worked in kitchens my whole life, you know, and, you know, I had guys tell me, oh, you know, I've been cooking longer than you've been born. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm still your boss because what you've been doing for 30, 40 years.
Didn't cut it, buddy.
You were doing it wrong.
Exactly.
So this is
Pun
how
intended.
we're doing it, you know.
I agree.
In the clouds here, obviously, because of the name of our podcast, we always smoke. Sometimes it's trees, sometimes it's cigars. Today we're smoking some bomb-ass cigars. We're going to have our producer, Gina,
Can I just say, before the commercial comes on, for the exception of me, yo no fumado, okay? But they gave me some margarita with tequila because Gina knows I like tequila. And she said, okay, then you're not going to smoke. You're going to have a drink. So get ready if you come to this podcast.
Yep.
If you don't smoke, you're going to have a little wine. Just got to, heads up.
We're not smoking for you.
Yeah.
So
it elevates the conversation.
Si no te gusta el tabaco, no vengas.
Yes. So talk to us, Gina.
All right, so today we're smoking Oliva's Nub Series Maduro, which is, the dark, oily Brazilian wrapper with Nicaraguan filler, full flavor. So they say when you smoke a cigar, the best part of the cigar is the middle, right? The middle third. And that's what Nub supposedly does. It is only the middle third. It's not the first third or the final third. It's the middle third. And they're delicious.
They are delicious, for sure. So, Erica, you're ready for some more questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ooh.
How you talked about, you're the owner of the business. Your husband is, your right hand. He's there with you. We talked about balancing, your schedules and your life and when to shut down. We're in business mode. Now we're at home. I'm not your boss, yada, yada. Although that might never change,
Yep.
So how do you and your husband combine your skills and your talents, to make your dealer stand apart from the rest?
Okay, so there's a few things. Well, there's a lot of things that we do, and then things that we've learned about, what it takes to be able to work together. Everybody who has a partner and they work with, they know that, you're going to go to work, and if you have a disagreement at work, I'm gonna take it home. Okay? Si yo le dije a él, listen, I need this vehicle done because this lady needs her car, and he was chit-chatting, having fun. Maybe after I cooked dinner, I'll be like, babe, ese carro, like, ¿qué tú hiciste? Like, you took your time. That lady, she needed her vehicle. Mm-hmm. So there is times where we take it, it goes over. And still to this day, we're trying to find that. Pero I feel that if me and him, we have been great working together. It's great that I can actually ask him a question in bed about the car that we need to get done the next day. If I had a mechanic, you think I'm going to call him at 10 o'clock at night? Mira, Pedro, tú vas a pasar esto. No, mira, Gordo, did you remember this or that? So that's the advantage. The disadvantage is that we get on each other's nerves, and sometimes he forgets that I'm the owner, and I forget that he's still my husband. We kind of cross a little bit over. Like, he talks to me in a way, and I'm like, aquí hay gente, y después yo lo miro, and le digo algo, and he looks at me like, hey, be more respectful. So you have to find that balance, because let me tell you, a business could either break you or hace tu matrimonio, or it could break your matrimonio. And I've learned that. We've had challenges, great moments, but I've learned so much from him.
Yeah.
I could tell you, don't put me inside your car, because I'll hear something and be like, mira, esos son la caja de bola that you need to change them, okay? You need new brakes in the back, and your shocks on this side are gone. Like, that's how good I got.
Yeah. You guys are like a dynamic duo.
Yeah, so we're really good, I don't think we're dynamic yet, but we're almost there. We're almost there.
Moments.
See, so, but, I want to share something with you guys. Because I own a dealership, I met some great, amazing people, and recently, they made me an offer to work for one of the banks that finance vehicles, right, for the dealerships. And again, that's something I would have never, if I would have not been in this industry. And they made me a really good offer, right, that I'm not going to talk about right now. But I might be doing both, the dealership and this side job, because it makes very good money. And I feel like if I would have not been in this industry, they would have not noticed my talent.
Yeah, that opportunity would not have came if you took that leap, right?
So things happen for a reason, yes.
Right. Okay, so with you and your husband working together, right, I'm pretty sure you have a lot of stories, a lot of things you've seen. Share a memorable moment with us, like one that really sticks out to you.
Where you both were like hugging it out and shit,
Ay, Dios mío. We have these type of moments sometimes where he's working on a vehicle, and, why am I saying vehicle? In the car. I want to say the car. Can I say the car? Yes.
You say
whatever you want.
Él está metido en el carro. Okay. He's working on the car, and he's been working on it for 6-8 hours, and he's trying to figure something out, right? And he can't. And that happens to all of us. When you're working, with something for a while, you kind of get blind, right? And you can't see the issue. It's in front of you, pero tú no lo puedes ver. So you need a second pair of eyes, and that would be me. So I've been able to walk into a situation and say, okay, babe, what's wrong with this? Okay. So I stay back and I look at something, and I put something, and I said, look at this. Esto es lo que he goes, wait a minute. To me, that's a great moment for me, because I'm like, you see, que yo sé mucho bastante. You see how much I know? He's like, I know. I just didn't think of that because I've been here for hours. So we have those moments where we know, like, damn, I needed her to just look at this, and she was able to figure it out, And of course, he's the genius when it comes to the cars. But we had great moments like that where we know that, damn, we're doing this together. Like, I figured it out because of you, or it's vice versa. Mm-hmm. I figure out, or these are good. When I am at the office and I'm overwhelmed because I am the owner, I am the financial officer, I am the administrator, everything in the front office, and I lose a title. Oh my God, I lose a title of a car that I sold, and I need to register, and I can't find it. Can you believe this man comes around my desk? He comes around me, literally, and I step out and I said, can you please just look around and see if you find this title? He goes in, mira, me hace así. Here you go.
Yep.
I'm like, holy shit.
You need that second set of eyes.
And again, second set of eyes, or I'm too burnt out because I'm overworked. And that also comes with the territory of owning a business. You're overworked.
Yeah.
That's
just
awesome.
Constantly.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you this. This is a hypothetical situation. Let's say you guys are at the auction. There's this car that one of you guys want, the other one doesn't. Where do you guys find common ground? You rock, paper, scissor it? You flip a coin? What do you guys do?
I'm not going to lie. I win those all the time. But
I
I'm going to
see
tell
that.
you.
I
I'm going to tell
can
you
see
how.
that.
Right.
Yeah,
Listen,
but,
when we get home, listen.
No, pero él mismo un día de esto lo va a traer. Él mismo te lo puede decir. I win those because. But then again, he does win some, right? But I win those
You
because.
throw him a bone here and there?
Sí, pues claro. Pero yo le digo, okay, let me see. He goes, well, this car is this. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not green light. Oh, pero ese es esto. And then I'm like, did you forget you have 5 more in red light that we bought and you haven't been able to figure it out? So I win that one, right? But there is moments there where we go back and forth. And sometimes I win most of them, but it's because they got so used to. When you are the financial officer and you're buying a car at the auction, you already know how much that car is worth on the street. He's a mechanic. He doesn't know that. So if I say, oh, no, eso es mucho para pagarle esto para ese carro, because then I have to sell it. That's how easy. I'm like, but no, we're not going to get that one. It's easy to win him over because he's like, she's true. She's the one who sells them. So I'm not going to, but, there's many cars like the Toyotas, Corollas, and those are like gems. Sometimes you find these gems, and then he takes over, and he does what he does.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. So you see the day-to-day, right?
The day-to-day, yes.
The day-to-day, the everyday.
Yeah.
So you're already set apart, right? Because it's a husband and wife dynamic. You're the owner, so that automatically makes you different, right? So in what other ways do you think you are set apart from the competition?
Es que, once again, the fact that I am a woman, Latina, and I grew up in this community.
Mm-hmm.
I also own many used car vehicles, and I know exactly what not to sell, right? So I've built rapport with our people since I was a teenager in Buffalo. And I've lived in the West Side, Riverside my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where mom and dads in the West Side, Riverside bring me their kids. And they're like, you know what, go to Erica because I know that we could trust her. And I know that she's going to give you a vehicle that you need. And she's not going to let the bank, overcharge you. Just so people, they know me because I've built rapport for years. Yeah. In many, I've worked in Buffalo, in corporate America for almost 30 years. So people know me.
Awesome.
Now, what advice would you give a married couple thinking about getting into this industry?
First of all, you must have start with your own chunk of money. Because when you start with a little bit of money, like I did, and you're using banks that are going to give you a floor plan, right? And it's a good thing. I have 3 banks that give me floor plans. So I have a credit limit like $300,000, $400,000 to buy used cars, right? But there's a interest rate that they charge you for
Yeah.
each vehicle, depending how long it takes you to sell it. So my advice to the couple would be start with your own money and know that you're going to have challenging times. Save when you make good money, save it, because there's the season where things
For the
slow
rainy
down.
days.
Yep.
And know that if you're working in this together, it's a constant, you got a constant reminder that if you're a couple, when you leave that dealership, leave the issues there for the sake of your marriage, because it has affected me. So I already know, right? And again, he has never worked in corporate America as much as I do. So he kind of always, you know how they say men are in boxes and women are spaghettis. In this situation, it's not like that, right? Because I'm used to working in corporate America. I know how to divide and say, okay, right now I'm home. I'm not talking about the cars. But sometimes he gets upset about something, he brings it home, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a couple and you're getting to any type of business, right, you got to find balance. Because if you have, this dynamic of your wife is your boss or your husband is your boss, because I've seen it both. As a matter of fact, in my family, my cousin who has Luis Pagan, who has the dealership in Orlando with his wife, they have challenges too. I've seen it,
Yeah.
right?
And sometimes you see those.
Yep.
I don't mean to cut you off. Sometimes you
ahead.
see those superiority and inferiority complexes
Exactly.
between sexes, especially, but two people in business together. Sometimes the egos can
Right.
kind of clash,
Right.
This has
Exactly.
been fun. Erica, thank you for your time. Thank you for being blunt and honest
Thank you.
on our grilling session.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope to see you in the future in another one of our episodes, maybe with your husband. We can sit down.
Absolutely. I
chat
hope
with
that
both
we
of you
can
and-
bring also our group Ubuntu up in here, a few
sure.
members of the team, and talk about their experience and la cultura, talk
Yes,
about
for sure.
bomba and how important it is, how bomba is not a hobby, right? It's a kind of a way of life. So thank you. It's been fun. I'm almost done with my drink and I'm still
Perfect
sober, so
timing.
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I'm
for
almost
sure.
done
We
with my
appreciate
cigar.
you.
So
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, you heard it. It was awesome interviewing Erica. Now we're back to do what we do, which is,
We talk hoops.
about basketball. Yep.
Yeah, baby.
Let's do the hoops.
Yeah, we are ending the Eastern and Western Conference semifinals round 2. For those of us who don't know, Indiana has won their series 4-1. Cleveland, seeing Cancun, baby. How do you
Unreal.
feel about that series?
Well, sound kind of dumb now if you go 2 episodes back when I said Cleveland was the best looking
Who
team.
said
but,
Indiana was that one? I think
Yeah.
that was me.
You did.
Yeah.
I just, you can't do nothing about injuries. They lost Mobley and Garland, and Mitchell got hurt in game 6. Game 4. But they're done. Indiana's looking like the Spurs, bro. I watched them play, and I see the San Antonio Spurs, bro. Their game style is just beautiful.
Yeah, man.
They're playing good defense. The ball's moving. If a shooter's not hot, they're driving the
There you
ball.
go.
They're not chucking 50, 63s a game just for the sake of it. Like, the brand of basketball the Pacers are playing is the brand of basketball I love watching.
Yeah. I think Tyrese Halliburton has those elements like Jokic, right? I don't have to score 30, but if I have to, I will.
Correct.
He'll go throughout the first quarter and not even score. And if everybody else is hot, once he finds his shot, he's on. But speaking on the Cavs injuries, right? We knew Donovan Mitchell was hurt, but he played.
He did.
He played. Two
He-
players did not play.
Yeah.
When they could have played, bro. It's the playoffs, man. How do you feel? Would you play? If they were able to come back game, what? 5?
Yeah.
And they played game 1. And they know, like, it's their season, bro. Your season's on the line.
Yeah. I'm super competitive, bro. I remember playing Little League for free.
That's what I'm saying.
Playing baseball games with a black ankle that right after the game I could barely walk. But once that adrenaline takes over, bro, I don't give a
You
fuck.
want to win, bro.
We playing. You know what I mean? So I don't understand these cats making all this money and over a little pain not playing.
Street
But
clothes.
that's the league, That's why you got this dude called LeBron James that in 22 years he's never missed a playoff game. That's insane.
It's unbelievable. It really goes to show how you take care of your body, because it's been 82 games throughout LeBron's whole career.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like he really hasn't touched on the topic of shortening the season until recently, but my nigga, he's turning 40. So with media and all these other players talking about shortening the season, I understand what they're saying, like, but how about you just train for an 82-game season?
Correct. You know, it's funny you say that. I felt like in every sport the last 12, 15 years, the way athletes train are different, because we talked about the tears in basketball, but you know, in baseball, the amount of Tommy John surgeries that pitchers are going through, players with torn hamstrings and pulled hamstring, I feel like training has changed more to build muscle than to stay pliable, than to keep your muscles loose. You know, and I mean, I remember in baseball back in the day, bro, pitchers were throwing 300 innings a season. Now 200 innings, it's a lot of innings. You know, in basketball, I mean, John Stockton played 82 games, like, what was it, like 17 years out of his career?
Yeah.
Because these guys were playing with bumps and bruises here and there. Now, you know, these guys get a little bruise and they're out for 3-4 games. I can't relate to that, bro. If I was getting paid millions of dollars to do what I do, you're going to have to drag me out of the court, bro.
Yeah. I feel like some of them here set for life and then they settle. I mean, you were a kid. You had this dream. Some people get there and that's good enough, bro.
Yeah.
Some people get there and that's good enough. But speaking of injuries, how do you feel about the Celtics in New York without Jason Tatum in this series? It's like New York is up right now as we speak.
I mean, New York has to win tonight. When Tatum went down, I was of the mindset the Knicks were gonna win the series regardless. I mean, they won the first 2 games in Boston. You know what I mean? At that point, the way the Knicks are playing in Brunson, and they just, that fourth quarter, bro, that team is tough. Brunson is tough in the fourth quarter. But I will say this, if they lose tonight, I think they'll lose the series.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I appreciated, especially about the Eastern Conference games, number one, the Western Conference games, they're late. We can all agree. Most of us are not staying up all night to watch a Western Conference game.
I am. My lady gets mad at me.
You're
sometimes.
nocturnal, bro. But one thing we can say about these playoffs, right? I love the fact that it's bringing back the use of early to mid-2000s play, mid-ranges, and ball movement.
You know what it is? So teams are either being led by European players, and a team like the Pacers, you know, their coach comes from the Popovich tree, bro. Is that brand of basketball, you know, and European players play that brand of basketball, that purist, you know, that Tim Duncan type of game.
Yeah.
You know, you're good at this, we're going to maximize what you're good at.
Yeah.
It's not, we're going to force you to become a three-point shooter.
Yeah. You're 99 in all categories on some 2K shit, man.
You know, everybody says Steph changed the game, but in ways, I feel like he did a disservice, because now the game has become about shooting threes, bro. And to me, I don't know, that's kind of whack, bro. There's players that have better mid-range games than three. That's why I like Mark DeRozan. You know, I've talked about him before. DeRozan's not a three-point shooter. He knows it, so he sticks to his game.
Yeah, mid-range.
The mid-range. You know what I mean? That's what Halliburton's doing. Like you said, he could go a quarter or two without scoring, but he knows that if he needs to go on a 13-point run, he can do it at any point, but he wants to keep his teammates hot.
Yeah.
He wants to keep them fed, because they don't have the skill level that he has. It's the same thing in Denver. Bro, we are in Game 7 in the series of Denver and Oklahoma. That's just unreal, bro.
We said Denver too this whole time. It's, you know what it is? Everybody's all OKC's inexperienced. This, that, the young team. Clearly, they're fine. All right, they're fine. They've made it this far. They led the Western Conference in wins, right? They know what they're doing. This is their second good year. Shea is an MVP candidate, right? But just think. Just take a minute to think. Denver has already won a championship. Yep. They have championship experience. Yep. So whatever OKC experience is below the standard, which I don't really support that argument. If you're good enough to make it to the second round and get all these wins, you're just good enough.
Yeah.
But Denver has that championship experience. And again, we're both going to die on this hill, bro. If Jokic does this and gets a ring this year,
That's going to be that Magic Johnson shit right
it's
there.
going to be one of the best finals runs I've personally ever seen in my life.
Oklahoma, though, Jay Will has disappeared again. He
Yeah.
did it last year in the playoffs, and he's doing it all over again.
Mhm.
And, bro, it's going to cost them the series. I
Mhm.
know there's Game 7, it's in Oklahoma, but OKC does have a better team in talent, but they are young. Denver is just – they're more organized, bro.
Uh-huh.
They play that brand of basketball that we're talking about. They excel everybody at what they do. Like you said, Jamal Murray's a champion. Jokic is a champion. Gordon is a champion. And
Bron's
Gordon's
a
been
champion.
saying, I want to crown Russell Westbrook. I want to get him a championship. Man, the fact that they're in a Game 7 alone, to me, they already won, bro.
Me too.
Because I didn't have them coming out of the last series against the Clippers, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen the clips of when they show their coach? That dude is just clapping and looking at Jokic like, yo, lead us to the promised land, please.
Bro, I don't even know his name.
Correct. Me neither.
That's the whole thing behind Jokic, bro. And not only, I mean, yes, they have Mike Malone in the regular season. Clearly, he wanted to do things a certain way that the upper management was not having. But everybody knew Jokic. He was the professor of that team, bro. He was the Oppenheimer of that team. And look where they're at now because of it. Like you said, now that they're at 7 games, I feel like they already defeated OKC.
I also think, who knows, maybe he took personal the whole MVP chatter because he has clearly shown that he is the
Leaps
MVP
and bounds.
of the
I don't
league,
even
bro.
think it's close, in my opinion.
Shea has not had a game in this series where I'm like, damn, this motherfucker came today to kill.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. His game is smooth. I love watching him play. He hasn't had a 35-point game.
Yeah, but again, only because the MVP is a regular season award. I will say, I mean, we know, just like we said, that fundamental basketball, Jokic is facilitating in each category.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And then that just feeds into the point that media and contributors to votes do have MVP fatigue. They do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
100%.
I mean, it happened with LeBron. LeBron should have had at least 8 or 9 MVPs, modestly speaking. I mean, it's not even – you can go look back at the numbers. The year Rose won it, the year Kobe won it.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers are not even close. The year Harden won it, the numbers are not even close. But like you said, it's part boredom, part we're not going to give you 3 straight or 4 straight because, you're not MJ.
Right.
So you ain't getting that, bro. You're not passing him. How do you feel about the other Western Conference series? People are saying that Minnesota would have lost if Curry would have played. I don't feel that way, man. I feel like maybe it would have gone to 6, but Minnesota just dominated them.
Yeah, front to back, I think Minnesota can just match up better. Again, Steph Curry would have had to be dropping 30-plus. If he would not have gotten injured, although he's like an Energizer bunny, his cardio is tremendous, even at 36, 37 years old.
Yeah.
He would have gotten gassed. I mean, who else on the Warriors was really going to step up? I mean, Jimmy Butler is past that carrying this playoff team prime, and it's in the West.
No, I mean, Julius Randle is their second best player, and he played better than anybody in the Warriors team. Julius Randle shredded them, bro.
In Skechers.
They had no answer for Randle. Anthony Edwards is the main guy there, but Julius Randle outplayed every single Warrior in that series as well.
That's what's I like Anthony Edwards a lot, but I feel like with the whole Minnesota team, they're a really solid team, and Julius Randle has matured tremendously.
Yep.
And
he wants to win, bro. That window's closing.
Yeah, he knows. And anytime the Wolves get some attention, it's always Anthony Edwards, but he can go like 0 for 11 and go for like 11 points, 13 points, and he was still the most I don't know. I mean, I understand the hype. Best shoe in the game right now. I agree. But it does come down to Julius Randle. It comes down to the what's his name? Jaden McDaniels of the
Oh,
team,
yeah.
the Mike
Yeah.
Conleys, the veterans, right?
I mean,
Because
those were the guys that shredded the Lakers too.
yeah, I just think it's so ridiculous that going to your point about Steph kind of changing the game in the negative light.
Nobody talks about it.
10 threes a game by any player individually, including 1 through 7 on a rotation like Boston. On average, you're shooting like 10 to 13 threes a game. Bro, what?
If you're not shooting over 35% from the three,
You need to stop.
you have no business taking 10
You're not a
three-pointers
shooter.
a
You're
game.
just shooting.
Correct.
You know, and there's a clear difference. But
There is.
to answer your question about the Warriors, do we even really got to say? I mean, every other team is really going to get better unless they sign like a huge free agent next
The
year.
Warriors are done unless they sign somebody. For
Yeah,
sure.
because hamstring
Oklahoma-
injuries on a mid-30-year-old dude who runs all the time, it does linger.
That'll linger.
It does linger. Look at Chris Paul.
And I mean, Oklahoma ain't going nowhere. They're young. They got an
Mhm.
embarrassment of riches as far as draft picks.
Mhm.
But they do have to deliver, bro. Their GM's been there like 17 years. And he has. Think about the players that have gone through Oklahoma
Presti,
and left.
man.
And they still don't have a chip, bro. Durant, Ibaka, Harden, and Westbrook were in one team at one point and they didn't win. Are you kidding me right
Melo,
now?
Paul George.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
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 I mean,
You got to win one.
yeah.
You have
do have to deliver.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just I don't see them doing it yet. I don't know what it is about them. You can give me all the stats. It's just like I don't. They don't look like they would win a 7-game series when it really comes down to it. I really don't see it happening.
Yeah, I just don't see the dog in them. Like I said, watching them play, Shea is great, but I have not seen the dog in Shea. I just haven't. His game's pretty, but you know, Brunson's a dog, bro. Halliburton, he wants that Shea. He's, they
Yeah.
play like hungry dogs. Shea, he just,
How tall is Shea? Like 6'7", 6'8"?
yeah.
I feel like he can get more rebounds. I feel like he can put up
100%. He
those
used
other
to.
MVP numbers
Shea was a triple-double threat his first 3-4 years
with the
in the league.
Clippers. Wow.
Yep. You know what's crazy too? That trade between Minnesota and the Knicks last year. I've never seen a trade work out for both teams as much as that trade did.
Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns. might be-
Bodega Cat.
What if they go to the finals against each other? That's gonna be crazy. Because I mean, it
It
could
would
happen.
work out for both. That's like that that Mavs Hawks trade with Trae Young and Luka worked out for both.
Yep.
That would be epic.
Because I can see Minnesota beating
Whoever
Oklahoma.
makes it out, right?
They're gonna have a hard time against Denver.
But do you think
I
they
mean,
can
if-
beat Denver?
I
I
mean,
think
I
they're
guess
fresher.
they could. Anything can happen. But, bro, if Jokic pulls beating Oklahoma in Game 7 in Oklahoma, I'm picking Denver over Minnesota.
Is this, dude, because if you think about it, again, Jokic Glaze, that would be 2 Game 7 series in a trip to the finals.
Yeah,
and if
bro.
you win that, oh, my God. Talk about cardio.
Yeah. I mean, that's underdogs, too. Because, I mean, they've pretty much been an underdog in every
Crazy,
series.
bro.
And if the Knicks win tonight, they're going to have home court advantage in the Eastern Conference Finals against Indiana. That's going to be
That
such
series
a good
is gonna
series,
be
bro. That's
nuts.
going to go to 7.
Yeah.
It's going to 7 unless, barring any injuries.
I think
They're going to rip each other apart, bro.
I think it'll be a dogfight, but I feel like New York can make it out of that series
I got New York on that series.
against Indiana all day.
I wouldn't be mad if Indiana wins.
Me neither.
I like the whole underdog thing, and they were both underdogs in the East.
Mhm.
Everybody had the Cavs in Boston,
Yeah.
and they beat both teams respectively. So,
I mean, either way, I feel like, would you call Denver a small market team? Not anymore.
not anymore. No, I
Damn.
mean, Jokic is just too damn good. Now, imagine if Jokic was American and not European, because I feel like they
Shit.
do get some, not as much attention.
He'd be way fatter.
Yeah.
But yeah. If Minnesota does go to the finals, it would be nice to see a small market team win it. But
Out of the so if Indiana and the Knicks and you got Denver, I got Denver against Oklahoma in Game 7, correct?
yeah, Minnesota got some rest time.
Denver and Minnesota are the teams to win it. Who would you want to win it the most?
Denver, easy.
Really?
Yeah,
I got the Knicks, bro.
I love Jokic, man.
I love Jokic, but bro, the Knicks was the team that made me want to watch basketball, and I saw Latrell take them to the finals, and they just couldn't do it against the Spurs. It'd be awesome to watch the Knicks win one, bro. Brunson would become top 3 Knicks of all time in 3 years,
top
bro.
2, bro. I'm gonna be top 2.
I mean, he'll
Who's
go
a
over
better
Melo.
Knick than him? Who's a better Knick than Brunson if he wins?
I mean, bro. I mean, what Patrick Ewing did with that franchise was huge, bro.
Okay, so Patrick Ewing, who else, and Jalen Brunson?
Yeah, I mean, I'll put him up number. He'll definitely go over Melo to me. I mean, Melo didn't do nothing there. He won 1 playoff series.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah. So
yeah, it is what it is. But
Brunson's that dude, bro.
I think the franchise that deserves it the most is New York. The player that deserves it the most is Jokic, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking deserving, I guess the Knicks and the Pacers are both tied on who deserves it most.
For franchise?
Yeah, I mean, who the fuck talks about the Pacers, bro? You know what I mean?
Knicks fans.
Even when Reggie Miller was there, like, what other great player
right?
did they have besides Reggie Miller? Paul George? What happened to Paul George and those Pacers? LeBron.
You don't got to remind me about Paul George. It's when Brandon Miller started saying Paul George was the GOAT. Then I was like, all right, nigga, you stretching it.
That's some dumb shit.
Like, that's
right
enough. And then and then it went downhill from there. But his game is very smooth.
Who's?
But Paul George.
Yeah. But he's not that dude, bro.
Yeah.
Paul George softer than a Pop-Tart. You know, like him as a player, but the way he... no, I'm
Dude,
good.
it's like it really goes to show you, like, sometimes work ethic, like, it could show up on that court, that skill, but that work ethic, and then the off court shit can really take an effect on how people really look at your overall game and the way you conduct yourself. Because I fell off Paul George, honestly.
Me too. I mean, he don't give a fuck about winning, bro.
Yeah,
he does not care about winning. That is not his mission while playing basketball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he said it himself. I just can't get behind a player.
Yeah, I mean,
like
you're
that.
making that in-season incentive money
through
your podcast, I'm assuming, and other endorsement deals. So do you really care about the incentive money if you don't get these rewards?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, they'll dedicate more time to their podcast and
that's exactly
make
what's
more
happening.
money on that. You know, I mean, there's guys that in the league were okay, and they're killing it in the podcast, bro.
Yeah, I think it's nice to watch the retired players too. Not to say that they're comparing their game, but it's like you could talk to people who've won it and just look at the game at a different aspect now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with the old heads, though, the ones that used to want it, they're kind of hating on this generation. You know, I like old players that appreciate the evolution of the skill level in basketball.
Yeah.
You know, like Larry Birds, even Oscar Robertson.
Yeah.
You know, these guys love where the game is at, you know.
Yeah.
But then you got guys like Barkley, who's just hating on the new generation and talking like he knows what it takes to win a championship.
Kendrick Perkins. That shit crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Perk said that he was the captain in the Oklahoma team with Durant, Westbrook, and Harden.
People forget that man has a ring, and it's for a reason. Like, oh, shit, I forgot you had a ring. It's not like we're underappreciating you. It's the fact that you have a ring, and it's like, all right.
Tristan Thompson was more valuable to the ring and the Cavs than Kendrick Perkins was in his, bro.
Left-handed Tristan Thompson before he changed his shooter hand, bro.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. But, you know, they were in the league, so it's like they feel like they could say whatever I want. Like, I love Charles Barkley as a player, bro. I wanted that Phoenix team to beat the Bulls so bad.
Yeah.
But you knew it wasn't going to happen, bro.
Yeah, and now Phoenix is also a wasteland now.
Bro, what a damn shame. I mean, how do you assemble that amount of talent and don't even make it past the first round for 4 straight years?
Insane.
You got Booker, you got Durant, and then they picked up homeboy from the Wizards.
Beal.
Yeah.
They were talking about him going to Detroit.
I mean, he's just robbing teams at this point, bro.
Yeah.
It's a shame because Beal's game was nice, too.
I mean, 35 a game at one point, right?
Yeah. In
Yeah.
Washington, but...
To your point about old players, like older players appreciating game, I actually came across a video the other day. I don't know if the NBA posted it, but it was George Gervin. He was saying, do you think you can match up against... He was like, I don't do that. Like, I have my time. These players are leaps
I will
and
tell you
bounds.
he would have, though.
Yeah.
George Gervin was a hooper, bro.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's a lot of inspiration. or he's an inspiration for a lot of players and highly underrated. They go like, you still got the finger roll? He's like, nah, that shit's dead. He probably can't bend his wrist.
Yeah, now that shit was unstoppable though on his prime.
Mm-hmm.
The finger roll is
The
a lost
Iceman,
art
right?
in baseball. Yep.
Yeah.
In basketball, it's a
See, I
lost
know my
art.
shit.
Yeah, nobody
my
does
shit.
finger rolls anymore.
Yeah. I mean, they're bricking layups in the playoffs. They ain't doing finger rolls. They're bricking layups in the playoffs.
Yeah. So Denver, Oklahoma, you got Denver in Game 7.
Uh-huh.
Who do you got between Denver and Minnesota?
Damn, bro. I don't want to count out Jokic, and I want to see it, but you got to be practical. You got to have a sense of realism with this shit.
Yeah.
Front to back, off a rest, a little bit of rest, even if it's a few days. I think Minnesota just has something in them this year. Pause. But I think they can come out of that series. Denver is tired. Actually, before the recording, we found out that Aaron Gordon has a hamstring injury. He's doubtful for Game 7. So with that being said, even if he does play, you just got out of 2 Game 7 series.
Yeah.
You know, I think Minnesota just has the energy and the vitality to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen teams with all that rest, and then they come out cold as fuck, too.
That's true. I didn't know OKC had quite a bit of rest, and now I bet they did not see themselves going 7 games with this team.
I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, Jay Will, there is an APB a homeboy.
He wears Harden shoes, bro.
Oh, why would you do that to yourself?
I'm sorry. If I'm in the NBA, I'm not wearing your signature shoe.
Listen, bro, if I'm in the NBA, I am never signing Harden to my team if I'm trying to win anything. I mean, bro, this dude, he's done it in 4 teams, bro. It's amazing.
How do you continue to sign this man if he has not shown up?
Beast.
Or max money.
Yeah.
You know, because you want seats filled and shit, but max money, I just know you're not going to deliver when it matters the most.
Yeah. I mean,
just know.
Besides the Bills, you are the greatest loser in sports. Had to take a shot at the Bills. I can't wait for
I mean, with the
football
schedule
season,
release,
bro.
it's pretty relevant. They're favored in all 17 games, especially Baltimore. I think the Baltimore favoring is wild.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I mean, the Bills are great in the regular season, bro, but then comes the real season.
Mm-hmm.
And every year, the story ends the same way.
Mm-hmm.
In
Every quarter in the
disaster.
playoffs is a different game. It's
Yeah.
a different game every quarter in the playoffs, bro.
Yeah, happened in the 80s, and it's happening
Is this
all
your
over
king?
again.
Is this your king?
It's funny because I tell people, still 0 rings, and they're like, you're stuck in the past. I'm like, wait, what? Did they win one that I didn't know about? Because they still haven't won. So how is it the past? You're not even making Super Bowls now. It's fucking worse.
Yeah, I mean, is this your king?
Yeah.
Is this your king?
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't think they got the team to do it this year either, but let's see.
I don't know. No major wide receiver signings. Each team does get better and make adjustments throughout the offseason. Yet again.
I mean, they picked up Elijah Moore, bro. No, they didn't pick nobody in the draft that people were like, oh, this guy's a game changer. But
yeah.
Every Bills fan feels like Josh Allen is going to turn any receiver into a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, it just still hasn't happened. And it's what kills them in the playoffs. They don't have that one guy that is like, yo, we're running this play by you, and you're going to eat your defender. And it's going to work every time. They just don't got that, bro.
Yeah. Where did Mac Hollins go? He went to New England, right?
Yeah.
That's 2 Buffalo Bills wide receivers that have went to the same team in the same conference.
Yeah.
Wild. Coincidence?
I mean, maybe they want to win,
You think Drake May is that guy?
I mean, we'll see this year. He's got some talent. He's got
Yeah.
Diggs. You know what I mean? He's got a good receiver. It's hard to look good when you got shitty receivers. Just
Right.
like it's hard for a wide receiver to look good when you got a shitty quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at what Brady did with Wes Welker and all these guys that went to New England. Chris Hogan left the Bills and went over there and won one.
That's wild, man.
Wes Welker
You're going
played
to
for
a direct rival.
Yeah, he
That's
he
crazy.
was with the Dolphins. He was the nobody. Went to New England, became the best slot receiver in the game. Went to Denver with Peyton Manning in that stack team. Didn't do shit.
Crazy.
So we'll see if Josh Allen can turn Keon Coleman or I don't know Elijah Moore into at least 1,000-yard receiver or a number one. I mean, their last number one was Stephon Diggs, and they didn't win with him.
Mhm.
Say what you want about Stephon Diggs. I don't even like him.
Yeah.
He was a problem.
He's going to put up 1,200 receiving yards a year.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. So we'll see in New England if Drake makes that dude.
Yeah.
Watch out for the Patriots.
Yeah. I agree. Defense is always on point. Vrabel's our head coach, too. Close to home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We're about to go finish this Knicks game. Have a good night.
We appreciate you.